Hugues Gibeault is CEO and co-founder of Optimé International. For the past 25 years under his leadership, Optimé has helped clients achieve consistently superior sales performance and business results, along with industry-leading levels of employee engagement. Optimé clients have included AT&T, PepsiCo, Great West Life, Napa Auto Parts, and TD Bank, to name a few. Like all of us, Optimé has had to pivot with the recent pandemic and is now supporting the shift to virtual selling with all of its clients. Prior to founding Optimé, Hugh was vice president of the International Paralympic Committee, where he and his team developed the Paralympic movement's first ever worldwide marketing program to support the Paralympic Games and elite athletes with a disability. His previous roles have included vice president of sales of a professional sales sports franchise, and Hugh started his career in sales and account management with consumer products leader Procter & Gamble in Eastern Canada. On a personal note, Hugh currently serves on the advisory board of the Canadian Paralympic Committee, as a board member of Sprout Wellness Solutions, and as a member of Laurentian University's Experiential Learning Advisory Committee. Welcome, Hugh. Good to have you join us and our audience today.
Thanks so much, Teresa. Great to be here. Thanks for having me. Puis bonjour à tous et bienvenue. Et merci de prendre le temps de vous joindre à nous aujourd'hui. So very excited to move forward on our topic, Teresa. And without any further ado, I wanted to get right into it, if that's okay. And around selling virtually and whether we're selling, university donations or fundraising, whether we're selling and developing business around events and managing our corporate events for our clients, whether we're even trying to sell ourselves as a destination, we're all, finding ways to embark and endorse this new environment, the new virtual environment. And so today I'm excited to share with you our learning, our applied experience, and how our clients are working to win in this environment. First, around what the right perspective is around how we program ourselves for success in this environment. I share with you some coaching tips on how to support our team members in improving and raising the bar around their virtual selling skills. And also a few primers on your upcoming 2021 virtual sales conferences and kickoffs, based on our experience, again, how we can raise those to a new level. Before we start, I thought we would start and ask our producer to launch our first poll question. And this is around, just as a warm up, but also to see where people's perspectives are on these issues. And the first, in the form of a true or false, is virtual selling is here to stay. Whether you believe that to be true or false, if you can submit your answer on the poll, and we're going to publish out our results. I'm going to give you a few more seconds to enter your response. Okay. So, according to our attendees, 95% of you believe that virtual selling is here to stay. And so very interesting. And, certainly this is backed up by the research in terms of, this not being a fad, this not being a flavor of the day. We've seen from trusted sources that over 80% of buyers and sellers already believe there will be a sustained increase in these virtual interactions. But we also find historically that virtual sales calls and remote selling is not new. In fact, some of the history we have shows some of the very first sales calls being conducted in 1876 using some less modern technology, but very much new cutting edge at the time. Our second poll question, as we get warmed up, is around the notion that buyers prefer virtual sales engagement over face-to-face interactions. I'm going to give you a moment to enter and submit your response around this question. All right, give you a few more seconds. Okay. And now reporting out. Okay, interesting. Have a little more of a polarized view right now, that, somewhere around a third of us believe this to be true, and 65% or so believe this not to be true from a customer perspective. So let's go to the research and see what the research we are tracking has indicated on this front. Interestingly enough, we're finding that more than 3/4 of buyers are saying they now prefer digital and remote human engagement over face-to-face engagement. Now, there's a number of theories around that. One of them is that buyers and customers can control the process more. Some of our clients have even been known to have their customers place a screen with a timer on the screen that basically keeps the salesperson or a business development professional honest in terms of the time they've been allotted. But it also creates this environment where we're pressured to be on the customer's agenda, where we need to be more efficient, more effective with our time. And this is very much resonating with buyers and customers at this time. In terms of a third point of view, I'll ask you what your view is around in-person selling being more effective than virtual selling. Going to give you a moment to submit your answer on this front. In-person selling is more effective than virtual selling. True or false? Give you a couple more seconds. And then our wonderful producer is going to report out our results. Okay, so 56% of you are saying this is true, 44 are saying this is false. This is, again, very interesting matter of perspective on the medium. So again, first I'll start by going to the research, and on this front, again, 3/4 of B2B decision makers globally say that online and remote selling is as effective as in-person engagement. So certainly from a buyer and a customer perspective, the medium is resonating and it's meeting their needs. But in terms of the salesperson, sales management, et cetera, it has been slower in proving its effectiveness. And so we're going to explore that notion. But at the end of the day, and you see the dichotomy, in terms of what a customer and a buyer's preference is and ours. At the end of the day, it is really about how we program ourselves around the advantages, the positives, and the strengths that the medium bring to us. It has already been proven as a medium to create and drive greater effectiveness, higher productivity, improved customer and buyer experience, and reduced costs. And some companies and customers have actually already said going forward, they are not going back to the old days of face-to-face selling and face-to-face meetings. And so there are advantages to be leveraged and in the medium. And despite all this, we see salespeople and sales organizations continuing to have a case of what I call the I can't waits. We hear this all the time, and we hear the notion of, I can't wait to get back to in-person sales calls. I was so much more effective in person. I've lost my personality. I've lost my ability to drive some change and get and close the sale live. Other cases of the can't waits have to do with getting back to the office. I can't wait to get back to the office. I can't wait to get rid of all these distractions around me in this home-based environment. I can't wait to get together with my team and have some fun and celebrate. So we have to be really careful what's the little voice inside of our head, both as managers and as salespeople. We have to really focus on, how do I maximize this medium? How do I make things happen in this environment? How do I drive value for customers and potential customers? And how do I really orchestrate these amazing resources that are available to us? This is what we call the right perspective. And this is what is really helping companies and individuals drive through this change. As we move forward now, people ask us every day, how do I improve? And what are the keys to improvement in virtual selling? Well, in this regard, we have had an established, proven, research-based formula for several years. And those of you who are familiar with the article, The Making of an Expert, published in Harvard Business Review several years ago, that continues to be true. One of my favorite articles based on this book from Cambridge Press around, and a 900-page book for that matter, which looked at all the research on what drives expert performance. And the key finding, for those of you who may not want to go through the 900 pages, is as follows: that expert performance is really a factor of coaching and ongoing deliberate practice. So the idea around here from a practice standpoint is we look at how many sales calls have we been on face-to-face live environments, thousands, hundreds. How many sales calls have we been in this virtual environment? Hundreds, dozens. So we really need to practice. We really need to hone, and we're going to share some ideas and some tactics around that. From a coaching standpoint, this is, really coaching and managers and their support is more important in this environment than ever. And the first reason, based on our clients' experience and ours, is that virtual selling requires an entirely new level of attention to details in terms of planning, preparing, and executing the sales call. Now, I don't want to generalize here, but sales professionals have not necessarily been known historically to be the most attentive to detail. And so it's a little bit of a stretch for them at times, and it takes them a little bit out of their comfort zone. However, as managers, we really need to support and get into the details with them. We've even evolved our own formula around the 4 Ps of virtual selling to adapt to this new environment. And it goes as follows. And these are the 4 keys around virtual selling. The first is really preparation. The second is preparation. The third has to do with preparation. And the fourth and last but not least is called preparation. Whether it has to do with the mindset, as we talked about, how we program ourselves and our perspective going into exchanges and engagements, whether it be our environment, how we prepare and pay attention to our environment, be they our messaging and how tight we are, how prepared we are around the customer's agenda and their needs, anticipating, handling objections, being able to help them make the right decisions, or the whole notion of how we structure a virtual meeting with a planful, mindful agenda, with objectives and clarity, with how we're going to orchestrate the conversation, how we're actually going to engage people on the call, how we're going to field questions, how we're going to close, and what we want to move as a next step. It takes an incredible amount of preparation in order to be successful in this environment. Other coaching tips. Here's an important one. It's really around practicing and honing active listening and observation skills. We no longer have the benefit of complete nonverbals that are offered in a live face-to-face environment. So we have to get really good at reading more subtle cues, tone, pace, pauses, movement, etc. In terms of, in being able to read and observe and understand where the communication stands and how we can address somebody's needs, how we can be better and more effective on being on their agenda. This again comes through a lot of practice, and we are all getting better at this, but the bar is high and we need to continually seek to practice and hone these specific skills. Another important tip for managers is around the fact that as managers, we need to model virtual proficiency. We need to demonstrate and continually show we are learning and applying and preparing and practicing. One of the sales calls I had with a manager of one of the sales teams that was looking for training said to me in our discussion, said, "Hugh, it's really, really important for us and my team to really get this virtual selling thing. I really need them to get to the next level and be able to drive business. And so I need you to really work closely with them." Now, what this told me is the fact this person is not dialed into their own responsibility to model and exemplify the right behaviors with their team and show them that they need to learn, they need to raise their game. So remember this as managers and leaders. Here's the other opportunity from a coaching and a management standpoint is you have a chance to create some entirely new coaching rituals in routines made possible through this environment. And going back to the theme of ongoing deliberate practice, how about setting up regular practice sessions and meetings with your salespeople? You can calendar those and have the expected, regular practice and ongoing concern. You can also participate either as a participant or an observer and client and prospect via video calls. And this is easy to do now with the technology. You can record practice and live meetings, then go to the tape, go to review, go to the whiteboard and the chalkboard and say, hey, how are we doing on this? Let's stop right here. You see what happened when you asked this question? Back up, really leverage and show some strengths in somebody's approach. And at the same time, help them see where they can improve and then give them some shining eyes around where they were successful in upskilling or getting to the next level. Ultimately, coaches are already leveraging this medium. It has been a blessing, and it's a way for you not to have to travel across the country to work with your people and do some coaching. And in the field, you can do so every day from the comfort of your own computer, your own laptop. All right. From a sales management standpoint now, what we're finding, and certainly our clients are finding, is we need to intensify our drumbeat. And by that, I mean, if you had monthly sales meetings with your team, we strongly suggest you accelerate that to weekly sales meeting in order to provide the timely support, in order to share lessons learned, success stories, challenges, practice, accelerate the drumbeat. And if you were meeting on a one-on-one with your sales team members on a weekly basis, you even accelerate that to short daily check-ins. And this frequency and this opportunity will really help you in terms of supporting them in their coaching needs and helping them drive their performance and their capability. So on the final theme for this conference, we were really looking at some ideas on how to make next year's virtual sales conference and kickoff more effective. And I know a number of you are event planning experts. So you're already well-versed on this and you need to be on the cutting edge of this. But I wanted to share with you some of our applied experience in the sales space and also that of our clients over the past year. The first would be to look at the kickoff as a journey, a little bit more than as an event. And I'll give you an example. Some of our clients came to us and said, Hugh, we need to raise the bar and have the most action-packed 2 days we've ever had to kick off 2021. We're going to jam it in 8 hours, all in. We're going to have some virtual team building at night, et cetera, et cetera. This medium does not serve that purpose well in terms of jam-packed agendas. And from an attention span standpoint, the research shows people need 60, 90-minute interventions in this immersive environment. So think of it more as a journey. How about January is kickoff month? And we're going to bring some real targeted programming to our people over the course of the month. And as opposed to this having to be a specific event. The second thought is around really focusing on the before and the after, where we tend to be very good at the conference itself or the event or the programming itself. Focus more on what comes before. For example, our clients are leveraging virtual workspaces to send pre-work, to provide knowledge, information, videos in advance of the immersive, high-yield classroom time or conference time, so that people come equipped, they come prepared, they come activated, and it drives a lot further learning and application in the during. And from an after standpoint, leverage things like technology, where every one of our clients is utilizing mobile microlearning to drive knowledge, test and assess knowledge and application post conferences, and with their managers having a dashboard to that so they can see where people are tracking, where you have some common strengths and where you have some common opportunity for development or for improvement. So it's really about expanding the focus before and after. The third area is around orchestrating resources. And now this is possible. We can bring resources from anywhere around the world thanks to the virtual environment. Our personal favorite continues to be customers. There's nothing like having a customer and the voice of the customer in a conference or kickoff around their challenges, around what they see as the future, around their needs, around how the company has served them and can continue to serve them and needs to think about. It's always a winner for us and our clients, but also don't underestimate the power of cross-functional stakeholders. Selling is a process and not a function. And so some of the best salespeople are non-salespeople, people from finance, people from operations, people from marketing, from supply chain, who can come and add value and help broaden our thinking around how we can add value with customers and prospects. So experts, thought leaders, broaden the thinking and orchestrate those resources, as I know you're all doing already. Last on this front is around leveraging experiential learning and gamification. Now, this is obviously a proven concept from a learning and development standpoint. What we've found and what our experience has been in particular is that our best or most proven concept in training has been around competitive application-based training, where we stage competitions. And we've dubbed this method game day, and people come prepared, and they come ready to compete, and there's awards and there's winners and there's tremendous energy and enthusiasm. Worked really well in a conference and ballroom environment. To our great surprise, and our clients have been thrilled with this. This is translated to the virtual environment even better, because it's real, because this is where people are selling every day now and meeting with customers. So don't be afraid to push the envelope, to challenge yourselves with competitions, gamification, experiential learning, and bring those conferences and kickoffs to life. All right. So in terms of the handout that is going to follow my presentation that you'll all have access to, I've included links to a few very useful guides or handouts around rethinking the national sales meeting for virtual purposes. Great read, very practical, a framework to enable effective virtual selling. There's several more, and I know we're all getting bombarded by these sources, but these three, I think you'll find particularly useful on today's topic. So on behalf of the Optimé team, and certainly on my behalf, I want to thank you for participating today. And as we move to the next part of our session, I also want to say that for any further information, and I'd love to meet and chat and help every one of you if you have a need around this area or you want to talk, and our friends at National Speakers Bureau will be happy to facilitate that, as they have, and they're the best at it. And you can certainly reach out via the NSB. So I know we might have some questions, Teresa, so back to you.
Thanks so much, Hugh. That landed with me, and I think a lot of our audience, the focus on preparation. So certainly I know we will take that away amongst the other messages that you've shared. And clearly you were ready for this session. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
We do have a few questions that have come in, so I'll review those with you. There is a question from Kathy around trust, and how do you foster trust in this virtual landscape when you don't get to meet people in person?
That's an excellent question to start, Catherine. It's actually one of the ones we've wrestled with the most, and it is challenging to build trust and relationships in this environment. And the first answer from our clients and our experience perspective is it's not all about one engagement in the virtual space. It's about every single action you take, from how you treat people, how you engage, one stakeholder at a time, the advanced communication, et cetera. So you build that trust and that credibility through your actions, and people tend to try to focus it too much into one virtual interaction or engagement. And it's very difficult to do that. People need to see the footsteps ahead of you and the footsteps behind you. So continue to be professional, continue to pay attention to the entire process. And through that, your actions will speak louder than words in one specific virtual environment.
Thank you. Thanks. And there is definitely trust built when you can at least see people virtually as well. So it's encouraging to better understand how to do that. We have a question from Heather about advice that you would give for solopreneurs who are both the technician and the salesperson when you're trying to do it all.
Wow. Another good question. So at the end of the day, I would say that we're all entrepreneurs. We all have, concerns on the day to day and clients and business to manage, et cetera. But it's to set aside proper time to grow your business. And I'm speaking from personal experience as well. Clients are amazing. And if you're client driven, they have a way of taking all of your time and energy. So it's about setting aside, blocking aside some time, planning and preparing for this virtual environment, who you're going to engage, how, and being very disciplined around that, because I know how it'll pull you in every direction. So that would be my first suggestion in that regard.
Thank you. And Jeanne-Marie has a question about, you touched on how sales professionals are not always attentive to detail. Can you expand on that a little bit and what people in a sales role could do to improve in that area?
Yeah, thank you, Jeanne. So I think the managers and leaders have to be on to this, that it is about the details. Don't let a sales rep get away with, hey, I'm not into the details. I've got too much on the go. I'm trying to sell things here. And as managers and leaders, we have to stop that. We have to say, hey, it is right now more than ever about the details and how you're perceived through this whole series of interactions. And so that would be one suggestion. And the other is that we all, as salespeople, that we start experiencing this for ourselves and how we experience webinars and sales processes and approaches virtually by others, and experience for ourselves how important the details are, as opposed to the pitch itself or the big grandiose virtual appearance. So try to put yourself on both sides of the equation as a salesperson, so it really drives the importance of that home.
Thank you. We've got some questions rolling in, some more. We do have a question from Amanda about, do you see video emailing and messaging becoming more prevalent for prospecting? And do you have any tips for leveraging this tool?
Absolutely. And their research backs that up right now. People, if you can consolidate into a 2-minute video clip, why you're reaching out to someone and what's in it for them. If you've built trust and credibility through your outreach, they are showing to be very effective. And it's a continuation of this virtual landscape. But again, I would suggest the focus be about the prospect or about the customer. We tend to say, hey, let me tell you about Optimé and why you need to deal with us. Here's 10 reasons, and that's my video. No, how about clients like you? Here's what we've done to help them. Here's what I think could be on your radar screen or challenges you're experiencing, and here's how we can help you. If you want to talk further, let's get together. That would be the second suggestion.
Thank you. And I'm going to combine a couple of questions that are asking something similar, which is around handling Zoom fatigue. And when you're recommending having a meeting, thoughts about recommending it doing by a video versus telephone, or are you sensing that people are getting overscheduled with Zoom meetings?
There's definitely Zoom fatigue. I think it is documented. And at the same time, there's also research that shows that you improve your level of trust and you improve your ability to close business by using video. So if you want to move things forward, you should insist and you should prepare yourself to be ready for game day, we call it, which is video based. But take breaks. I know I don't schedule back-to-back video calls all day because it's not possible to maintain that level of energy and connectivity. So I schedule very good breaks in between to get air, to get exercise, to be refreshed, and to really be able to bring it on in this environment. But I would say it's important and pace yourself and make sure you have breathing room to bring your best.
Thank you. And I appreciate how you shared some of how you're rolling out your events that used to be live. And I know some of our team have participated in those in past, and sharing how you've moved that to virtual. And there is a question about, can you bring to life a little bit more about how some of your practice sessions roll out now using the virtual environment?
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, in fact, because and we have to set the tone that this is a learning environment. This is where failing is fun and is good. And so be comfortable to do that. So we'll structure weekly, our clients, in fact, will structure weekly sales calls, manager and rep, for example, at a set time, and they will send in advance a quick scenario that the sales rep needs to prepare for and come into. And then literally they are live on the call. It's being recorded. And then we stop the call. We go back to the tape and debrief what happened. So that's been one way to leverage. We also have done so in groups where preparing clients for large RFP presentations, for example, or large cases where there's multiple stakeholders. So we've practiced those, recorded those, gone back and said, hey, how could this have been better delivered? How can your nuances between stakeholders be better? How do you field questions so that there's a centralized way to field the question and invite your colleagues to chime in? So again, it is about practice. We need to get good in this environment. It doesn't necessarily come naturally.
Indeed, and we just got to, as you say, keep giving it a try to make those connections. And I'm conscious of our time, but we still have some questions rolling in. So appreciate those who have stayed with us here. We're going to wrap it up just in a couple of minutes, but I'll try to see if you can get to a couple more, Hugh. There's a question about, oh great, thanks. Question about the qualities that you would look for in hiring sales reps in a virtual world.
Another good, these are all great questions. So our philosophy is you hire for attitude and you train for skill. And in this case, I'd say it's even more real. No one has been trained, specifically for an extended period of time in virtual selling. But if they have the go-to attitude, they are making things happen, they're achievement oriented, they really want to add value, and they have the propensity to be on the other person or the customer's agenda, that's who we look for. And then we train, upskill, and build their proficiency for the virtual environment, which is possible. That would be my going in advice.
Thank you. And with that mindset of possibility, there's a question from Richard around adjusting sales targets when buyers' actions are so difficult to predict. So how do you do that? And how do you even get the meetings now that you're in this virtual world, versus being able to knock on someone's door?
Another tough question, and I probably would like to speak to that person offline. And by the way, I invite anyone who has questions we haven't gotten to via Teresa, Lynn, or the NSB, more than happy to help have that conversation, okay? This is a difficult one, and people tend to adjust everything downward right now, right? Well, it's tough right now. We're not getting decisions. We're not getting through. So the natural tendency right now has been to say, okay, why don't we just lower the bar? And then, we'll make sure we get there, or people don't get overwhelmed. I think that we have enough excuses as it is for things being tough. So our suggestion, and our clients tend to have said, hey, how are we going to stand out? And there's a better opportunity to stand out in this environment and actually get ahead of our competitors and differentiate ourselves. So why don't we stretch ourselves, and what is possible with this medium? So, but it would need some further conversation, because I understand the challenges around forecasting, projections, and the complexity of that right now.
Thank you. Appreciate your quick responses to a lot of these questions that have come in. And as you say, even from a practice perspective, giving our audience the opportunity to use different elements of this Zoom webinar capability in terms of the polls, and again, using the Q&A. So thank you for giving us all an opportunity to try some new things.
It's a pleasure. We're learning every day, Teresa, each and every one of us. And it's a great challenge, but also a great opportunity.
Indeed. Thank you. And I can see from some of the comments, we'll be sure to share them with you. Amazing tips, tricks, and techniques. This was an extremely valuable session. So your content is resonating for sure.
Well, very happy to hear that. And again, we're here to help with you and your team.
Thank you. For our audience, we will provide a recording in our follow-up email, as well as links and information to some of the resources that Hugh had shared. So hopefully you'll get a chance to revisit some of the learning and share it with some of your team. And hopefully some of these tools will help you going forward into 2021. We'd certainly welcome the opportunity to help you program an inspiring and tactical session to kick off a really strong year next year and continue the learning. Our next session will be next Wednesday, same time, with Dr. Brian Goldman. He's a Canadian ER doctor and host of CBC's White Coat Black Art and the podcast The Dose, where he'll discuss the latest on COVID-19 as it relates to healthcare, business, and mental health. We hope you will join us, and we're happy to leave the chat open for any last few comments along the way. And until next time, stay well and keep finding those silver linings. Thanks for joining us.